What an amazing conversation this was. You have to listen to today's guest's story. Literally, with his YouTube channel and a few episodes, he triggered an industry which is now $200 million. That is what the power you have as a content creator. Now, I get it, not everyone is able to get that influence, but this is why we do what we do here, bring amazing guests and let them share their secret sauce of success with you so that you can listen, learn, and apply those strategies and grow your own YouTube channel or whatever video platforms you're on. In any case, we spoke with Marcus from the YouTube channel Bubbleman's World, and we talked about his journey. We talked about how he brings amazing guests on his channel, how he manages his business, his channel, and his personal time. Man, there's so much gold in this episode. Make sure you give it one shot. Now, before we begin, I want to get a few things out of the way. Currently, we are open to a show sponsor. So if anyone or any brand listening to this show believes in what we are doing here and is interested in sponsoring this content, please email us at RepublicOfCreatorsMedia@gmail.com. I do want to give a quick shout out to TubeBuddy. They're not sponsoring this content, but TubeBuddy is a free YouTube tool. It's a browser extension as well as an app that I use myself to grow my own YouTube channel. I use absolutely many features, but my favorite is the A/B testing of thumbnails. Honestly speaking, I don't know how I would have grown my channel to almost 250,000 subscribers, the Sabby BG show, if I didn't use that specific feature. So if you're a YouTuber and not using TubeBuddy yet, click on the link in the show notes to download the tool for free, or simply type www.tubebuddy.com/ROC. It's free, but if you decide to use one of their paid versions, you can use ROC Buddy and get a discount of 20% per month. You can also visit our website, RepublicOfCreators.com, and download our free copy of YouTube Success Checklist, a step-by-step guide to skyrocket your YouTube channel. With all that out of our way, creators, this is your host, Sabby BG, and I welcome you to be a part of the Republic of Creators clan. Let's begin. Welcome to the second episode of the Republic of Creators podcast, a unique platform where we bring on some of the most successful YouTube and online video content creators to share their secret sauce to success with all of us. In this episode, we have Marcus, the Bubbleman, with the YouTube channel Bubbleman's World with 127,000 subscribers, and also a massive following on Instagram as well with a similar number of followers there, 127,000 followers as well. Very excited to speak with you, Marcus. Just to give you a quick introduction of Marcus, he's been an entrepreneur interested in medical cannabis extraction and hemp cultivation since 1991. You also have been featured in countless magazines, and you continue to educate the public about the use and extraction of cannabis on the channel. I've seen your channel. You host a lot of podcasts, a lot of live streams, so we're really thankful for you to actually take the time to come out today, talk to us about your methods, your strategies to where you are today, and the following that we all want to grow to on Instagram as well as YouTube. So with that, I'd like to introduce yourself, Michael. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing really good. Thanks, Sabby, for the introduction. It's nice to be here, and happy to talk YouTube and other things with you guys today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to begin with, Marcus, why don't we just start with your introduction? Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey from as a video content creator from the very beginning, why you started, what instigated you to start. Tell us a little bit about where you are today and what your future looks like. Where do you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years with your video side of things?
Okay, that's a big question for sure. It's hard to say because I've been doing all this for so long, not necessarily the video aspect, but there is kind of a pre-story that leads up to me doing videos. I mentioned earlier I've done my channel since 2005. But it was really only around 2012 to 2014 that I actually started putting energy into it. And, the whole purpose was to build an audience. It was to help sell my product. It was to help educate people. And, I wasn't a videographer. I'm not a sound man. I don't do video editing. I was none of those things. They were all alien to me. Prior to doing the YouTube channel, I guess in 2010 when Instagram came out, that was another new thing. Well, I had been taking photographs, but I wasn't a photographer. And so when Instagram came out, I had probably, I don't know, 1,500 high-end photos of cannabis and hash and all of these different types of photos I've been taking, because much like what I did when I got into YouTube, when I got into the photography aspect, I decided, well, I'm not just going to take pictures, I'm going to learn. And I decided to learn macro photography. And so I immersed myself into macro photography, and I sold images within the first year to every known cannabis cultivation magazine on the planet, from High Times to Skunk to Red Eye and all these others. And in fact, actually National Geographic sought me out for my macro cannabis photographs within 9 months of learning macro photography. So that really helped build Instagram. Right now, YouTube starts. I'm, 2013, 2014, I'm starting to do videos, but I don't really know how to edit. I've got to learn all that. I don't know how to do, splicing. I don't know how to add music without getting my channel struck. I don't know how to, I'm thinking I want my videos to be nice. I've watched some videos. I like really nice transitions. And if I've got my macro photography already and I'm talking about things, well, there's one transition in my videos that you'll see a lot, really high-end macro photography that I took the photos of myself. Well, then I stumbled upon Casey Neistat's YouTube channel, and he's doing all this drone stuff. So I'm like, well, that's a nice kind of transition as well. So I go buy a drone, and now I'm learning how to fly a drone, and I'm learning how to, the whole technical aspect of recording onto a drone, and how to set the drone up, and how to make sure that it's all working properly, and how to fly it without crashing. And it's all very nerve-wracking when that's not really your niche. Once again, if you want to do a niche on YouTube, get ready to open up 40 other niches that you're going to have to become an expert on, unless you have money to hire people to do all these things. So now I'm a macro photographer, I'm a drone pilot, I'm a videographer, I'm because of my relationship with all the musicians in Jamaica, I get special permission to use their songs, which they monetize. I don't take the money from the video, I give it to them, but I'm allowed to use the music without getting struck down. So that was kind of a big sort of build out and how I managed to build the channel. Now, where I want to take the channel, I have a lot going on in my life. I have a company in Jamaica that's doing clinical trials at the University of West Indies with CBD products. I have a legal licensed production facility in Canada that is about to build 2 facilities and start producing hash and oils for the medical and recreational markets. I have my consulting businesses. So there's so much going on for me, yet I never choose to turn away from YouTube. And what I did when I started building my traction, instead of gaining all the traction for myself, what I did was I started picking out the gems in my community and bringing them onto my channel and giving them exposure and giving them the spotlight, because it was something different and it expanded my niche. Sure, I'm educational, I know certain things, but when I bring in a PhD chemist who breaks it down even better, or I bring in a botanist who studies living soils and can explain to you about biomes, all of these things are sort of specialty things that I managed to pull in, and that, to me, also not following anyone's rules. I was told when I started my YouTube videos, you can't make a video longer than 2 minutes. All these kids are from the MTV generation, and they don't have the ability to watch a video that's more than 2 minutes. Well, my 4 million plus view video is like 48 minutes long. It's almost an hour long, and it's my most watched video. So I don't really listen to too many people in regards to, I think when you want to ask too much advice, it means you're afraid to make mistakes. And if you don't understand that all success comes from mistakes, you should probably stop asking for so much advice and be willing to fall on your face and be willing to make a mistake and be willing to learn from that mistake. So I did a lot of that in the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, no, and that's amazing. Just to, with everything that you said, I mean, you have so many things going on. You're constantly posting videos on YouTube and making posts on Instagram. If you're inviting guests to come and talk to you on your show, you're coordinating the time to talk to these guys, and then you have your other businesses as well. I'm guessing a lot of people would face a problem around time management, specifically when doing so many things. So with that, I want to ask you this question. How do you manage your time? How do you prioritize your Monday to Friday or your daily?
Well, that's a good question. I really just pack it all in. I'm a very type A personality. I work for 18 hours a day and sleep for maybe 6 hours a night. I will go tonight, you know, I've been up since 6 a.m. and I'll go tonight till probably 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock solid. For instance, I'm doing this for 2 hours. I'm at my work right now. I've been building a lab all day. I will leave here at 4 o'clock. I have another call that goes till 5 o'clock. I have a live stream that's starting on my YouTube channel at 6:30, which I allow another group, this group called the Dragonfly Earth Medicine. I think Karen Campbell would really like what they've got going on. They're super amazing people, organic gardeners, healers, the whole 9 yards. And I have offered my channel to them so I can host, and they can bring all these amazing experts that they know, people who are experts at soil and growing and all of these different things from all of these amazing different platforms onto my platform, and then I can gain traction from that while I'm really at the same time sharing my traction with a group that they don't have it. They're not going to get thousands of views if they start their own YouTube channel. So that's another thing. Never be afraid to sort of, you know, share your channel with like-minded people. It's also a very good way to boost your views and your subscribers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the money. I think one of the more important things for people to get into YouTube, which is a lot of people think they'll become millionaires, right? And in a lot of cases, it may not be false. I mean, if you keep going on and you strategize properly, you know, making $1 million off of YouTube is not that hard. But how do you make money? Tell me a little bit about, are you doing everything that you're doing full time, or are you doing something on the side as well, you know, for the money to be coming in? And I'm specifically asking you from a YouTube or video content side of things. I know that you have businesses as well. Maybe you can give us a quick idea of what percentage of your total income may come from businesses, but the content that you're creating, how is that helping you make money?
Well, when I was monetizing, it was helping me make money because I was creating content that didn't exist. It was the same thing when I started macro photography. No one was photographing cannabis with a macro lens. So suddenly here I am, a guy that has access to thousands of grows across Canada and the world. I'm constantly invited into grows, even well before it was legal. And I have trust. People trust me. So that was a big thing as a photographer. When you photograph illegal grow ops back in the day, your success rate is how people either tell people to, yes, he's safe to use, or no, he's not safe to use. So taking photos at a grow and then leaving and having that grow be busted, it's not a good look. You want to make sure that when you go photograph something like that, that it stays safe after you leave. So I'm aware of things. I'm smart. I'm not an idiot. I don't go and, not that I even smoke joints, but I don't leave a grow smoking a joint in my car while my camera's sitting on the front seat. These are certain ways that you can, and now this doesn't even matter anymore because it's so legal now, especially in Canada. We have federal adult use, we have federal medical. But when I started all this, we did not. I was walking on a rocky road.
Absolutely.
But, you know, if you look at the most successful YouTubers, you know, there's always a kind of a unique, different, I mean, Casey is an editor. Casey is a professional editor. He edits movies for a living. So that's how, I don't know if you ever saw the video he did where he decided that there was a huge tsunami in the Philippines, and one of the movie companies had sent him 25,000 US and said, can you make us a trailer? And he was just like, you know what, I think I want to take your $25,000 and I'm going to do a little documentary and I'm going to take it to the Philippines and we're going to feed thousands of people. And they were like, all right, let's do that. So what an incredible thing that he did. Think of the amount of movie trailers in the world. Is it really that important for us to see a trailer for a movie? Or is it more important for us to feed people and take care of people? Like that to me was, and so Casey was kind of a big inspiration to me. He got me into the drones. He got me into creating videos that weren't boring, that I could talk, you know, like this, and then all of a sudden now we're in beautiful nature. Now all of a sudden there's macro photographs. Now there's a drone shot. Now there's more macro, and all of those transitions combined started making my videos worthwhile for people to watch.
Fantastic, fantastic. That is amazing. So Marcus, how does your team look like? What does your production looks like? Are you doing all of this by yourself, or do you outsource some of that to editors, or it's just you? I do it all. I do it all. I do everything. So are you looking at outsourcing parts of? I mean, yes and no. You know, I think that knowing
I mean, just think back to $14 billion a month in 2014. That's what YouTube was pulling in through advertising dollars. 14 billion with a B. Okay, that is an enormous amount of money, and there's no reason why anyone in this room can't tap into that. It's not a special group of people. I mean, I myself, I did it with a very small niche cannabis channel, and I was making at least $1,000 to $1,500 a month for a long time. Now, that's not going to pay for my lifestyle. I live in West Vancouver in British Columbia. It's not a cheap place to live. I live a fairly expensive lifestyle, and I've had a lot of successful businesses in my life that have allowed me to live these lifestyles. So I didn't necessarily need YouTube, but I wanted it. I thought, wouldn't this be incredible if I could, you know, at first make enough money to pay for camera equipment? And then as I started buying the camera equipment, I'd be like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I could make like a car payment or my mortgage payment? And those were sort of the driving factors. It was easier for me because I didn't need it. You know, yet at the same time, when you do need it, you know, sometimes you'll push a little harder than when you don't need it. And sometimes having your back up against the wall, sometimes adversity is exactly what people need to succeed. And that's why you see people who work their asses off for what they create in life. When they become successful, they are very, very different from spoiled little snots that get it given to them.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And what an inspirational story that was. Tell me, Marcus, if there's one tip, if you had a younger brother or sister that was starting out YouTube and they come to you and advise, like, tell me, Marcus, one thing that I could do, you know, I can start with, a mistake that I should not make. What would that one piece of advice, and you can give multiple, but if there has to be this one most important piece of advice you need to give somebody that's starting out now, what would that be?
Well, that's a good question as well. Let me think now. I mean, obviously, to back up all your videos, regardless if they are recorded on a camera or if they're live streamed, I lost 1,016 videos. I had about 85% of them backed up, but about 15% of them were live streams that I did not have backed up. So I would always tell people, listen, back up your stuff. It might not be valuable today, but it might get to a place where it could become very valuable and almost priceless to you. And if you lose it one day, if you just assume YouTube's going to keep it on their channel forever, it could go down. The channel could be struck. Things could happen. So keep your videos backed up in a very easy, you know, the month, the year, the title of the video. That's probably one of the most important things I would tell people. And I guess, you know, just to have fun with it, you know, have fun. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do this. I'm like you, Sabby. I'm like, wanted everything to be perfect. And as a photographer, that taught me the error of my ways, because I would take a bunch of pictures, like for National Geographic, when they hired me, they said, we want 3 photos. We want a photo of a bud, then we want to zoom into the bud, then we want to zoom super close and just have one glandular trichome, which is what I specialize in. And I sent them a bunch of photos, and I was amazed at how my favorites are never the favorites of the people. If I post on Instagram my favorite shot, sure, I might get 3,000 or 4,000, 5,000 likes, but then I post one that I don't even like sometimes, I'll get past my own ego, and then suddenly it's the most liked photo I've ever posted. So it's you know, and to translate that into videos, for the longest time I thought it was so important that, you know, for me, for what I wanted to represent, I was very much like, I'm OCD. I have ADHD or something. I don't want clickety sounds. I don't want, you know, something going on in the background. I don't want the screen to flicker. I want it to be 4K every time. I want it to be high quality. Well, I taught a friend named John Burfello, and I'll put his name in the thing here, because he is the opposite of me. He's a big he's kind of chubby, and his hair is all dirty, and he's just, you know, he goes into his basement, he's got his laundry hanging everywhere. I'm like, I'm pre-establishing a room, I'm cleaning everything up, I'm setting the stage. He does nothing. He goes down, puts his camera that I told him to buy on a tripod that I told him to buy, pushes record. There's literally, like, it's his basement full of junk. Well, that guy got to 100,000 followers before I did. He got to 100,000 followers before I did. And the only reason I could explain it is that I'm relatable to a small percentage of people, and he was relatable to like 80% of the population. He is Joe Blow. He's just Joe Blow, and he's an amazing guy. He's like one of my best friends, and he taught me a lot, thinking, wow, I thought I was going to be all perfect and create these perfect videos, and that was going to be my success. But then John comes out with his belly hanging out and his shirt not tucked in, and just like his videos blast, you know, the audio sounds terrible. He's photographing plants that have bugs on them. and he's crushing it. So you just can't, YouTube is so big, you are literally feeding 1 billion people their entertainment. And if you don't think that there's enough people out there that wants to, you know, it's all about getting your videos watched. It's all about getting that exposure. And sometimes that can come from one person helping you, and other times it can come from multiple years of you sort of busting ass and putting out consistent content.
No, I agree. And I think, you know, one thing that you touched on, which is someone with a lower video quality than you, maybe not as handsome looking as you as well as maybe the video value or content may not be as good as what you're producing, may get to 100,000 or 1 million subscribers much before you. I mean, we can't sit here and contemplate on what worked for them or what did not, but you know, YouTube is YouTube, like it's YouTube, and the more authentic you can be, the more relatable that you can be with people, the better you may do. Not necessarily you will do, but the better you may do. So a lot of my clients as well, when I start talking to them, they start talking about these fancy advert videos, and I always say, do not think about YouTube. If I'm going to be making 5 YouTube videos for you, I'm not coming here saying I'm going to make 5 advertisements for you. These are YouTube videos where you either give how-to tips about your product and that way sell it to people, or you come and talk about a value that your product does, or solve a problem in your industry to your people, to the buyers that your product does. But just do it in a very live, you know, maybe just sit one-on-one or talk to people, talk to your camera kind of format. That may work as well as an advert that you may spend thousands of dollars for. So, you know, it's just weird what works and what doesn't work on YouTube sometimes, but it's just important that once you figure out what works as an individual creator, like try to leverage that. You know, double down on that if you want to grow, if growth is something that's important to you. Marcus, I want to ask you about your content strategy, right? When I first saw you and I wanted to, you know, and personally, the reason I saw your content was because I was making searches for a topic related to what you make videos on, because it's a topic of interest to me, great interest to me. So, you know, and I found you and I was like, wow, I must get this person in onto this podcast and talk about, you know, his content strategy, because you're on YouTube, you also post your pictures on Instagram. Can you tell us a little bit about what your content strategy for these 2 platforms are, and then also are you looking at growing into other online video platforms, repurposing your content, or maybe making new content for TikTok and LinkedIn video or Facebook video? Are you trying any of that?
Okay, let me see if I can answer that question. That was another big loaded one. I don't necessarily use much other than YouTube. YouTube and Instagram are kind of the 2 main ones that I use. Just want to be able to make sure I can put that question together in my head so I can answer it properly, because I didn't really totally understand it.
So I meant to say, what's your content strategy for YouTube and Instagram? So how do you sit down and...
Okay, my content strategy now is a little different than what it was before, and it's, you know, first I created my channel to be a voice of authority. So people go to my channel and they listen what's said there. And by opening up, I do a live stream every Sunday for about 4 hours, and the show is called Hash Church. When I started Hash Church, it was YouTube sending me a video or a link one day saying, oh, you've reached a new milestone. You can now stream live. This was like when it was brand new. And I was like, oh, wow, like, okay, this is kind of cool. Let's see what this is. It was Sunday morning, and I kind of went through it, and I clickety-clacked, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go live right now, 9 o'clock. Oh, what am I going to call it? I don't know. It's Sunday. I grew up Catholic. It'll be church. Oh, and I'm a hash head. Let's make it Hash Church. So I picked that name just kind of random. And I sent out the link to my Facebook page, and like 5 or 6 people came in, and we all had a talk, and it was a couple hours long. But then the next Sunday, I was like, I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to introduce and invite specific friends of mine. And we did another show. Well, I did one of those every Sunday for 161 Sundays in a row without missing. In any country that I was in. Sometimes I was in, I mean, I can't even tell you some of the experiences that I had to do to get to where, like one time I had flown back from Jamaica with some Jamaican friends of mine, and we were going to their house in Brampton, Ontario. We were driving in a blizzard, and we had about 20 minutes to get to the house so I could start Hash Church. This happened dozens of times around the world, just crazy scenarios where I was so tenacious and so unwilling to miss an episode that it really created a whole vibe. Yeah. And what happened was, so many people started coming into Hash Church and talking, and I mean serious people. I mean, I had Ross Ulbricht's mom, you know, Ross Ulbricht, who started the Silk Road, who's in prison for like 4 life sentences. His mom came into Hash Church. I had Freeway Ricky Ross, the guy that like sold all the cocaine in the 80s and for the CIA. I had Dr. Lester Grinspoon, who ran Harvard Medical School for 27 years. I had incredible guests. People just couldn't believe how I was accessing these people. And so what that did, especially in my own little industry, is it started, our conversation started directing our industry on a global scale. And I could see different people in Hash Church starting to get jobs with different companies, and we were starting to move the industry. So now my strategy for both Instagram and my YouTube videos are to make videos based on the current and now conversations that are happening in my industry. And so, you know, a perfect example is there's a thing called rosin for cannabis. And rosin is pressure. If you take a woman's flat iron, okay, a hair straightener, and you turn it on, and you take parchment paper and you fold it in half, and you put a little flower of bud right in there, and you smack that with the hair straightener for about 20 seconds. The steam, the moisture in the bud will steam out of the bud, and the resin, which is growing on top of the bud, will melt, and it will shoot out with the pressure. So when you open the parchment, you have oil on the outside of the flower. You can do this with a variety of flowers. Any flower that secretes essential oils through glandular trichomes, this process will work. And there are hundreds of flowers that do this. Well, this was a huge revelation, being able to make oil without solvents. People were using butane before, and they were blowing up because butane's a really dangerous gas. It's super heavy. It pools at your feet, and a spark that you can't even see from your cell phone can ignite and blow that thing up. And we actually had kids blowing themselves up and burning off their hands, and people were actually dying from this. This was the most dangerous thing that cannabis had ever saw, other than the DEA. Because before that, the only thing in cannabis that killed was the DEA. You know, there was no way to die from cannabis unless the DEA shot you. But now you could blow up. So rosin became this really, you know, amazing thing, and we blew that up on my show, episode 25. The day after that show aired, companies came out with rosin presses. Well, today, I would guess it's a $200 or $300 million industry and growing every day. And that was from a simple conversation we had at Hash Church. So I lucked out. I invited a lot of people onto my show for a once-a-week thing, and that allows me to pull content for the rest of the week on my show.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. Marcus, tell me this. How do you feel about where you are today on YouTube?
I mean, you know what? Listen, I took a big hit. I had 130,000 subscribers, and my channel got stolen, and all my videos got erased, and for months I had no channel. And I put years into 1,000 videos is a lot of videos. I don't care if they're 5-minute long videos. Mine were like an hour long each. So that was a lot of time and energy I put into that. I was a little upset, but I was also, you know, I'm older in my life now, and I was like, do I define myself by my YouTube channel? Like, is that who I am? I'm my YouTube channel. So let me tell you all, do not define yourself by your YouTube channel. Put energy into it, build it, make it great, but so help me, if you define yourself by it, if anything ever happens, it's going to destroy you. You know, if you ever lose your channel, like just, you know, you want to love your YouTube channel, and I'm not super happy where I am right now because I'm below where I was 3 months ago. I've already collected back, I think, 7,000 subscribers, but I'm still about 3,000 or 2,000 away from the number that I was at. I was bringing in 2,000 subscribers a month. I'm now bringing in 500. I had about 3 million minutes watched every 28 days. When I came back, my channel was at 46,000 minutes of watch. I've gotten it back up to 1.8 million, but I'm, you know, I'm still, I want to get past where I was. I don't want to be below where I was. So I'm going to put energy into it in the next year. One of the unique things about having a YouTube channel, depending on what your niche is what kind of access to content you have. So I have an enormous amount of access to cannabis content all over the world. Anywhere I go, I can film. So it's kind of easy peasy for me. And not only I can film, but people are asking me, like if I announce that I'm going to Barcelona, I'll get, 20 emails, and they'll be like, hey, we're only an hour outside of Barcelona. We'd love to have you come by and film, maybe do a video. Of course, they want the traction. I get that. So that's allowed me to be an influencer. I can charge for my videos. People are willing to pay me like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a video. A lot of the equipment in my videos, my 4 million view video is using a rosin press that basically was created from our conversation on Hash Church. A year later, a company called Pure Pressure came out with this pneumatic press that sold for 10,000 Canadian dollars. Well, I just wrote them up. I said, hey, I phoned them up actually. I said, hey, I would like you to send me one of your presses. And they said, okay, well, what's your credit card number? And I said, no, I want you to just send it. And the guy literally said, well, who the hell are you? And I said, I'm Bubbleman. And he said, what's your address? And he sent me a $10,000 press. I told him I would get 100,000 views. That was my promise. And I delivered 4 million. Wow. So I'm now an ambassador for that company. I get paid when units sell under my website. And these are all little things that you can do to bill and monetize. It's not all monetized through YouTube themselves. If you're having a hard time getting, monetization from YouTube, but you're getting views, you can still, within your own niche, gain access to products, do reviews. And I'm very strict. The products that I review are the top products. I promote maybe half a dozen products, and 98% of products that are offered to me, I say no to. For the longest time, I would say yes and then just give them away. But it was costing me like $5,000 a year in shipping costs to mail away free stuff that people were sending me.
Yeah, and also I think, now that you have an influence over hundreds and thousands of people, you have to be really true to what you're promoting, what you're vouching for. So you have to be a bit more careful with that as well, because you have an influence on people that are looking up to you for feedback, advice, criticism, or whatever that may be.
Which ties into the most important thing we're going to talk about right now, which is you build your channel, you get a ton of followers. What's the first thing people do? They stop communicating with their followers. Oh, I'm too busy. I can't possibly answer 100,000 people. Well, that's interesting because I answer 300,000 people every single day. I answer hundreds of Instagram messages every single day, and I answer almost every YouTube comment every single day. It's just what I do. It's maintained a realness. It keeps me from becoming this like famous, untouchable, unreachable person. And every time I write someone back, they say, wow, I cannot believe you wrote me back. And I'm like, really? Like, isn't this what social media is about? Like, aren't we trying to connect with each other? And or is it just like I'm Snoop Dogg with 40 million followers and I'm going to post something and never look at any of it? So luckily I'm not such a big, I don't have big traction like that. I don't have millions of followers, but 300,000 I can keep up with.
Yeah, no, but again, in your niche, that could be a big number as well, right? I mean, the kind of videos that I've seen, the kind of guests you've had, I think you do have an influence, and you're really leveraging, your content for, looks like for your business and for the greater good, whatever you want to do in life as well. Quick question for you is, are there any apps, any softwares that you use to sort of speed up your process? Like, I don't know, TubeBuddy, Canva.com. Like, how do you make your thumbnails and anything else? Any software like, or gizmos or apps you use?
I mean, I use Lightroom for photography as a professional photographer. It's one of the most intuitive, just beautiful programs. Classic is available for a very inexpensive subscription rate. You can download it off, Lightroom 5 and Lightroom 6 are available for download online. But I just pay for Lightroom. It's easy enough. It's a great way to shrink images and create, specific size images for thumbnails. That's usually what I do. A lot of my videos, I'll choose the thumbnail from the video out of the 3 that they offer. I really do. But when I want it to be special, I'll try to make a nice image. And, if you look at the live video that's about to go live in 3 hours on my channel, it's got a beautiful poster that we made, Dragonfly Earth Medicine. It's talking about regenerative soil. It's a whole explanation in the poster. Other times, if I do a Hash Church and there's 15 or 20 of us, I'll take a screenshot of what do they call it? Not speaker view, but gallery view on Zoom, where you can see all and then I'll take a screenshot of that and make that. But I don't really use, a ton of apps. I feel like when I was in my heyday of making YouTube videos, I was using a 4K Panasonic camera. I was using a 4K GoPro. I was using a 4K drone. Those were my 3 main cameras that I would create my images with that I would, you know, sort of edit together. But then I'd also have, you know, photos that I'd put in there. And so anytime there was a photo, anytime there was drone footage, that's where a song would go. So yeah, there's an enormous amount. Yeah. People are always like, "Why you got all that Jamaican music on your YouTube?" And I'm like, well, first of all, because I love Jamaican music, and second of all, because my brethren that are making this music allow me to use it without striking my channel down. That's a pretty big deal, that if you're making videos and you want to use music, you're going to want to figure out how you're going to gain access to music.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's you know, that's a good one, because we all have done that mistake where we ended up using, you know, I remember one of my videos I made years ago, I just uploaded a Bollywood song along with the video that I made, and the next thing I had a copyright strike within a second, and I was like, I don't know what the copyright strike is, and I had to figure out what that strike even means. But that was a different channel where I never posted again, so it didn't really hurt me. But you know, being able to have access to the kind of music, yes, there's YouTube library and you can get music off of Epidemic and all these websites, but sometimes you really want to use an artist's original music, and having access to those people directly is it's definitely really, really cool. What are your biggest strengths and weakness as a content creator?
Well, I mean, my biggest weaknesses for sure were the fact that I wasn't an editor. Like, can you imagine just learning to edit while you're doing YouTube videos? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Like, okay, so now I'm taking, you know, I'm taking videos and then I'm putting the video into the computer, and I don't even recognize, when I first were making 4K videos, it was saving them in these files I didn't even recognize. My computer didn't recognize them. I mean, I had to learn everything. Luckily, the same way you can ask a friend, hey, how do you make this video work on YouTube? If you ask Google, it's just like asking a friend, except you get an accurate answer every time. Yeah. And so I asked Google everything. And so I did a lot of, you know, kind of research, and those were my weaknesses. My strengths are obvious, that I'm very able to do one takes. I don't do two takes. All my videos, all 1,000 of my videos were one takes. There's no, I'm not like, oh, I made a mistake, I better like delete that and come back. And so I've been very lucky in that sense, being able to bang it out. And anytime I've been interviewed by, you know, professional media on that level, they always comment on it. They're like, wow, you were great to interview. Like, you just really know your shit, and you didn't make a lot of mistakes, and you're clear. And so those are kind of my strengths. And that I have access to content that not a lot of people have access to.
Amazing, amazing. One piece of advice to somebody that's that hasn't started yet, like, you know, anything that you would like to tell them that's going to help them push to make videos tomorrow?
I mean, have fun. Try not to pay attention to the negative comments, because they could suck you into a like twirling, you know, dimension of depression. Like, it is real out there. People, they build up this this false positivity of when they get a like or when they get a view. So I try to tell people, don't feed too much into that. Feed into the love of making your video. Like, you want to make this video, who are you talking to? What are you trying to tell them? What do you want to get out of this? But try to keep it positive. Don't get sucked into sort of the narcissistic, shallow aspect of friends and thumbs up and like, oh, someone gave me a thumbs down and someone said a negative thing. I had to deal with all that. It's actually mentally trying, and a lot of people get pulled into it. It can really, you think you get this great video, you put it up, you know, you spent 12 hours putting this video together, and then the first thing someone comes on and says is just this harsh, negative critique that's just like verbal diarrhea. And it's like, are you going to put your energy there? Are those the people you're going to reply to? Or are you going to reply to the people that are positive and sort of kind of propping you up? So don't pay attention to the negativity.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. That is amazing. Well, you know, Marcus, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have a chat with you. We've learned a lot, not just, I think, in terms of the technicalities of how to do this right, but also having the right mindset to be able to juggle multiple things together, to have businesses, as well as be able to create content and how to do it yourself. So it was an awesome conversation. Thank you very much for joining us today. Before we wrap this up, you know, if you'd like to let our audience know, where can we find you?
Oh, geez. Well, you can find me. My name is Marcus Richardson, but I go by Bubbleman on most of my platforms. So BC Bubbleman is the Instagram, and the YouTube channel is actually also / BC Bubbleman. Or if you punch in Bubbleman's World it brings up the channel. So those are the two mains.
Amazing. So thank you so much for Marcus. Thank you so much, Marcus, for joining us. Thanks everybody else that was on mute listening to the conversation as well. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the Republic of Creators podcast. Leave a comment, rate us in the any of the platforms that you're watching, that you're listening to us on, as well as you can go to our YouTube channel, which is also called Republic of Creators. Video segments of this audio podcast, this video podcast will be posted on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much for giving your time to us, and we'll see you in the next video.